Welcome to episode 115 of the Epilogue Lady podcast. My name is Bente and I'm coming to you from Vesterålen, northern Norway, where I live with my husband, my oldest son, and 3 cats. You can find me on Instagram as Arctic Crafts, on Facebook as Arctic Crafts by Bente, and on Ravelry as Arctic Crafts 65. There is also a group for this podcast on Ravelry, where you can participate in make-alongs and the occasional giveaway. And there is a Ko-Fi page where you can support me and the podcast, either on a one-time donation or a monthly donation. As you can tell, maybe you can't tell, but I'm now recording by daylight. I actually don't use any artificial light today. So maybe you can see the reflection of the windows in my glasses, but it's not as harsh as the ring light. If the neighbors walk by, they might wonder what I'm doing, but I normally change my curtains around Easter, and I have the winter curtains up, and they're not see-through at all, and I just pull them aside now. In spring and summer, I use transparent drapes that let all the lights in, but nobody can look in on us. But I'm not changing the curtains just yet because we don't have a lot of hours of daylight, so it gets dark in the evenings. So I'm sort of on a timetable. I'm sort of on a tight timetable today because I have an appointment and basically I'm busy all this week more or less, and we're leaving for England on Friday morning, early Friday morning. But I had to record today. I decided because I told you I was going to record on Mondays, and I have until lunch today to do this. It's not going to be a long one anyway because I don't have a lot to show you. We can start by discussing our trip to England because, as you know, I'm going to Unravel. I'm going there on Sunday. And some of you might be going to Unravel, I don't know. But in case you're going and you want to say hello, just look for a really tall man with no hair, a beard, and glasses. If you see such a man, it's probably hubby, and then I'm going to be close by. He's so tall, he basically sticks up in any crowd, so he's easy to spot. And if you see him, I'm close by. So that's Unravel. My plans at Unravel is Big Blue Mama is there, and I really want one of the baskets, but unless they sell them, I know you can get those flat packed, if you know what I mean. And then you use water and you sort of shape them when you get back. If I can get one of those, I'm going to get the basket. I'm also going, if I'm buying yarn, it's going to be a sweater quantity. I'll try not to buy any single skeins. Look, I'm saying that now. I might not be able to go through with that. If I'm buying single skeins, it's going to be sock sets or self-striping sock yarn, stuff like that. But mostly I'm going to go for fiber because of my rabbit hole. And speaking of rabbit holes, I put up a picture on Instagram where I was of a hot pink spinning project I'm working at now, and Ashford actually shared it on their stories. Maybe I'm stupid, but I sort of felt a bit starstruck because Ashford was sharing my picture. So hubby sort of, so what? He didn't understand why that was such a big deal. maybe you understand why that's a big deal. So, what I'm wearing. I'm wearing one of my many So Faded by Andrea Mowry. This is a scrappy version, knit with yarn I had left over from a different sweater project. That sweater I never wear. This one I wear a lot. So that's what I'm wearing. Normally these days I don't wear any knits because it's sort of, sometimes it's too hot for them, sometimes I can wear them, but then I have to change all the time. So, but I could wear something knit while I was recording. I'll just change into a t-shirt again afterwards. And then maybe we should start talk about knitting and what little knitting I have been doing. I have a finished object. It's my quilted lattice cowl. My first project for my Fluff to Stuff make-along. This is knit with my handspun that I dyed in the same colors as my unicorn, unicorn colorway. Looks totally different if you dye it on fiber, but the colors are the same. And this is, I knit this to the same length as one of my other cowls, because I like the length of that. I don't like the way the edges look. They're sort of all over the place, but it could be that the yarn is a bit uneven. I could maybe have used a different stitch than the pattern stated for the ends, for the edges, but I like this. I'm going to use this, but maybe not for, I'm not bringing it with me to England. I'm going to bring a cowl just in case. So that's my only finished object. I have spinning finished objects. I'll just do my FOs first, and I'm going to do both spinning and knitting. I'm going to do it like that because for the foreseeable future I'm going to have more spinning than knitting. So instead of dividing it, I'm going to do FOs first. And I have spinning FOs. First of all, I have these two skeins. And these are the grey Jacob that I spun up to use as a contrast color for a sweater. And I brought one of the skeins of the dyed Jacob to show you what they look like together. This is going to be the main color. It's my cinnamon toast. And as you can see, what looks grey is actually, it has a brown hue. I'm not sure the camera picks that up, but there's a brown hue to this. And that's even more perfect. What I'm going to use this for, I'm going to knit the stripes by Andrea Mowry. I have knit two before, and those have almost zero ease. And I'm not going to go with zero ease on this because this is a bit scratchy. So I'm going to wear something underneath. So maybe an inch of positive ease, inch or two. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to knit the same size, but I'm going to go up a needle size. I probably have to do that anyway because this is a heavy fingering, almost a light sport. And because I only have two colors, I'm going to, and I have 4 skeins of the cinnamon toast and 2 of the grey. So I'm going to do double stripes with the cinnamon toast, if that makes sense. I'm going to, let's say, do 16 of the cinnamon toast, 8 of the grey, 16 of the cinnamon toast, 8 of the grey, and so on. Just to, I think that's going to look good, actually. I need a sweater for hubby where there's 2 colors and one of the stripes is the double the width of the other, and it looks really good. So I'm thinking that might look really nice. So that's my next sweater cast on. I also have 2 other skeins of finished spin. This is, I think I told you about my sock blend fiber that I ordered from Spinbuilt. And this is a fractal spin. It got really boring. It looked good in the fiber, but as a fractal spin, it's sort of boring. And the problem is I have enough for a pair of shorties for myself, but not for hubby. And this is sort of more his colors. So I bet this is going to be a pair of shorties. And I have 226 meters here, and it's a 12 wraps per inch. And my label fell off. And what happened was I fractal spun this by first I divided the braid into two, and then I took half of it and divided into two again vertically, and that I spun that on one bobbin end to end, and the rest I split in. I think I split every part in fours, or was it threes? And I spun those end to end as well. And because the rowing was much thinner, or what you might call it, that of course got the color, the colors. My brain isn't functioning today, but anyways, I think you understand what I mean, because you have less fiber. The stripes, or what you might call it, gets shorter. So, but I had leftovers of the one that I split into 6. So what I did then, I just made an Andean bracelet. That's something new. That was a comment on Leslie, Not Quite Enough Yarns podcast, and I tried it and it really worked. So a bit at the end is plied on itself, but that doesn't look the same as the rest, because you can see the color changes in this fractal spun, and I have 4 different colors in the background, and that repeats once, so I have 2 different ones, and I'm going to use one for each sock, so they're sort of going to match, but that last bit is going to look different, so I'm not sure what I'm going to use that for. But I'm going to use a contrast for heels and toes and the ribbing. And I'm going to, when I cake this up, I'm going to make 2 equal balls, one for each sock. That's not something I'm going to do right away though, because I have other projects that I'm working on and that I'm planning on casting on. This I'm not that happy with. It's sort of all over the place. It's my first spinning from the fold project. Sorry about looking into the viewfinder all the time. And yes, that's Snape. This is a merino braid I bought from Ulløy, and I was spinning it from the fold and then chain plying it. And as I said, it's all over the place. I'm not sure what to do with this. This is 11 wraps per inch. And I have 89 meters, so that's almost nothing. But I think maybe this might work as a contrast color in something stranded, maybe a hat. We'll see. But those are all my finished objects, both my knitting and spinning objects. So then we can talk about works in progress. Again, you can see him now as well. I'm not sure why he has to go crazy every time I'm recording. Maybe because he doesn't get my attention when I'm doing this. But works in progress. I only have 2 works in progress to show you today. One is a sweater. I showed you this last time as well, but I've been working on it. And it's my no frills. And this one I'm knitting this oversized, because I wanted something nice and cozy. The yarn I'm almost out on this ball, and I of course didn't bring any, but it's multi popcorn from House of Yarn. And this is going to be nice and cozy. It's going to be, when this is finished, it's probably going to be too warm. So I have to put it away until the fall. I don't care though. But that's what that one is going in my suitcase for the hotel room in England. I always bring the project I'm showing you next is the one I'm going to bring to work on our way there. This really fun bag I got from Sue in Canada when she did the bag de-stash. I can't find any tag. She might have made this herself. I'm not sure. She makes bags. But the reason why I chose this is I can hang it on my arm like this when I'm working on it. And that's perfect for waiting around on airports. And the yarn, I cast on a pair of socks. And the yarn is a really colorful one that I bought in Knaresborough. Or Knaresborough. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. And we bought it when we were on on a trip to York, and we went driving, and we drove to Knaresborough because I was looking for a local yarn store, and people recommended the one there. And I bought this yarn there. This is what my sock looks like. And the yarn is Georgian Rose. And I'm knitting this on wooden 9-inch needles. I'm using wooden needles just in case on this. So that's my travel knitting. And I'm not sure how far I'm going to get on this sock on our way, because I'll be knitting on the plane probably, and while we're waiting around on the airports, maybe on the train in England. I'm not bringing it to unravel though, because I don't think I'm going to get a lot of knitting done while we're there. I'm not bringing it to the football game either. So those are my knitting whips. My spinning whip. It's on the wheel, but I can show you fiber. I'm about halfway, and I think I started with about 160 grams of fiber because it was what I had left of the Corriedale. Or when I buy Corriedale fiber from Wooltops, I get these big balls. So that was what's left. This is what's left on one of those balls, and I've divided it into. I divided it into two, and I'm doing one half at a time. And this is the second half, and it's going on a different bobbin. I have a bit left on for the first bobbin, and then I'm going to ply them on themselves afterwards. And then we'll see how many meters I end up with. No nylon in that, so maybe not socks, but on the other hand, I have quite a lot of socks. And if I wear through them, it's not a big deal because I can always use a new pair. I decided that I'm not going to go crazy about only knitting socks with nylon in, because there's no danger of me wearing through all my socks, because I have a big sock stash. I tried selling socks at one point. Nobody was interested, so they're still there. And speaking of no one interested, if you check my feed on Instagram, there's still some yarn left from my de-stash, if you're interested. And I'm going to use it as prizes if it doesn't sell, I think. Or maybe find something to use it for myself. It hasn't gone back in my stash just yet. Just checking what my battery looks like, remembering what happened last time when I had to switch to my mobile phone before I was finished recording. Because I of course forgot to charge my camera yesterday. So I charged it this morning, but I didn't wait until it was finished charging. And why am I telling you this? That's probably not interesting for you. So those are my whips. I have dyed up some more fiber. That was a disaster because it felted. Not a lot. It's still possible to spin it, but I can't use it for a price because I dyed it up to use it as a price. But it's possible to spin from it, but it's felted, so I didn't want to. I decided I just had to keep it myself. Then we're over in show and tell. And I actually bought some yarn. I wasn't supposed to buy yarn before I went to Unravel, but this is a Norwegian dyer, so she's not going to be selling at Unravel. It's Garnboutique and Fortuna. And you can probably see why I just had to have this. It's a sock set and it's called Nectarine. And again, you can see why I needed to have this sock set. And it's 100 grams of the main color and 1 mini each of these 2 colors. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to use the minis for something else, but again, we meant these to be together, so I'm probably going to use them for a sock. And probably I'm going to knit long socks with this. I have enough yarn for 2 pairs of shorties, because I have 1 of each color of these. So I might do 2 pairs of socks as well. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the second pair though. But this is Nectarine by Garnboutique and Fortuna. So I have bought yarn. But as I said, it's a Norwegian dyer. She's not going to Unravel, and I want to support Norwegian dyers as well. So I'm basically buying hand-dyed yarn from Garnboutique and Fortuna, hand-dyed fiber from Ulvey. That's yarn I bought. I also bought undyed fiber. I've been talking about Spinnvilt before. The Norwegian web store I bought my wheel from. I also bought my knitter's loom from them. Not that I'm using that, but I bought it from them. They also sell undyed fiber and a lot of different interesting breeds. So I bought some more interesting breeds from them. I bought 500 grams of this. This is Teeswater. And I have 500 grams of this. It's not quite a sweater quantity, but I think I might be able to combine this with a different fiber, so I can make a contrasting color for a sweater. But this is Teeswater, 250 grams. And I bought 200. I have 500 grams of that, as I was saying. And I also bought 250 grams of Cheviot. And it's much fluffier than the Teeswater. It feels almost like Corriedale, a bit more toothy maybe than Corriedale. So I'm going to try dyeing up these. They also have a few other breeds I want to try out. They have the Southdown and the Wensleydale. Both of those I want to test out. The Southdown. The fun part about that is me and Leslie from the Not Quite Enough Yarn podcast have plans to meet at Unravel. I wanted to have a proper sit down and a chat with her, and she agreed. So we also meeting probably for lunch, I guess, in a small town near Brighton called Luce. She also lives on the coast, and we decided to meet somewhere sort of halfway. It's closer to Brighton than the town she lives in. But anyway, we're meeting in a small place called Luce. And the funny part about the Southdown and Luce is that the breed Southdown was born in Luce. So that has sort of a fun fact about the breed Southdown. And as I said, Spinnvilt sells fiber, Southdown fiber and Wensleydale. And I'm going to test out both of those. But I have a lot of undyed fiber now, and I'm going to dye up what I have first. And I bought a sweater quantity of the Teeswater, or it's not a sweater quantity. I discovered that with the Jacob. I don't have enough for a sweater because I have 800 something in total. 800 something meters from 500 grams of fiber. I might, as I'm going to try to spin the Teeswater finer, so I get down to a fingering, because this is sort of a fingering, but it's a heavy fingering light sport. But I'm going to try to get it even thinner, so I get down to a fingering, and then it probably, naturally, it's going to be more meters. I'm going to get more yardage. So that's what I'm trying to do with the Teeswater, and I'll try to spin it as thin as possible and see how many meters I get. To knit a sweater my size, I should have enough with about 1,000 meters. Unless, especially if I knit it like I like them with 3/4 sleeves and everything. So I'm going to hopefully get enough for a sweater using the Teeswater. And if I don't, I'll just have to use a contrast color. Maybe even a commercial yarn. I haven't decided yet, but then I haven't dyed the fiber yet either. My next project, when it comes to dyeing fiber, I'm going to dye up the second half of the sock blend. I'm going to fractal spin that as well, but I'm going for more of a contrast, and I'm going to dye it up in pinks. Big surprise. So that's what I'm going to do with the second half of that sock blend from Spin Built. And something else I want to try is dyeing the fiber in the braid. I'm not sure I like the way that looks, because you always get resist when you dye the braid, so you get white spots. But if I use a lot of different colors, so white becomes one of the colors, if you know what I mean, that might work. So I'm going to try to dye a really colorful fiber in the braid. And then I'm going to dye up the rest of that sock blend for another pair of socks. I'd have to start casting on some of this, because I have a plastic bin that I'm keeping my hand spun in. If I decide to use some of it as prizes, I'm going to put it over in the prize bin, but as is, that bin is full. And I had that as a goal when I started, when I jumped into this rabbit hole, that I'm not going to let that bin overflow. I have to start using the yarn. So that's why my next sweater cast on is the Stripes by Andrea Mowry in these two. I might cast that on before we leave for England. We'll see, because I really want to cast that on. I also have the Advent fiber hand spun. That's I want to use for a V-neck Sunday slipover by PetiteKnit. I've knit that before, and I have enough for a vest or a slipover. I don't have a sweater quantity. So I might even cast that on, both to clear out the bin, but also to get started with some more handspun projects. The slipover might actually be the first thing I cast on, because that is something you can use in spring as well. This sweater is going to be something I can't wear unless it's cold. But then again, if I start that project, I can remove 6 skeins of handspun from my handspun bin. So, and I really want to start knitting this. I think that sweater is going to be really beautiful. Because one thing I discovered with the handspun, it's not as springy or as bouncy as commercially spun yarn. But I think that's probably, it's a bit that I'm an inexperienced spinner still, and the fact that maybe handspun has that, doesn't get as bouncy as commercially spun yarn. So it doesn't have as much stretch. I steam blocked this, by the way, because I finished it last night. So I now wanted to show it today. So, and this is probably going to take it's going to take much longer to dry as well, because it's denser than commercially spun yarn. I don't have a lot left to talk about when it comes to yarn and fiber. So I'm going to record a little bit at Unravel, and maybe some footage in Brighton itself. We'll see. But I'm not going to do a special episode on the trip to Brighton. What I'm going to do probably is just going to attach that footage to my next podcast episode. So that's going to be a bit longer. And my next podcast episode is Monday in 2 weeks. That means I only have a couple of days between I get back from England to edit the footage from England. So we'll see, but probably I'm going to have enough time to edit that footage before my next podcast episode. So what I'm going to do now, I'm probably going to make myself an early lunch. I haven't had breakfast. I know that's not good for you, but I haven't had breakfast. I was sort of stressed about getting this out of the way. And now I'm going to clean up this mess. It always gets messy when you record a podcast. Something I forgot to talk about up front, the Fluff to Stuff make-along. People are posting, and I really enjoy watching you and your projects. And there's also the Shop the Stash Mail that I'm doing with Alex from My Yarny Corner and Sue and Liz from Distant Stitches. Shop the Stash. I'm drawing prizes for both of those. And the first prize drawing for the Fluff to Stuff is the end of March. And because this is sort of a year-long make-along, and I'm not expecting anyone to have a finished object already, so the first drawing at the end of March, I'm going to, if you have spun up yarn for your project, you're eligible for the first drawing at the end of March. Because if I don't do it like that, I only have maybe 1 or 2 people that can get the prize. So the first drawing at the end of March, I'm going to draw a prize from the FO thread. But I'm not giving you a prize if you only posted the picture of your fiber in the FO thread. Because I told you the way I would like you to do this is you start a post by posting your fiber, and then next time when you have spun that fiber, you edit that original post to show a picture of your fiber, and then you edit that original post to put in a picture of your finished knitted project. If you want to do them separately, feel free. I might be drawing a pattern prize as well from the discussion thread, because people are much more active in that thread. So I feel I might be drawing a pattern prize from the discussion thread. And at the end of the year, I'll probably draw 1 fiber prize for the discussion thread as well, just to encourage you to participate in the discussion thread. That's what I had to say about the make-along. That became my epilogue of the day. I'm going to make myself lunch and start preparing for my appointment today. And I'll see you back here in 2 weeks. Bye bye.